The search for a shooter continues. You're watching WKYT. I'm Kristen Kennedy. Police are still trying to figure out what led up to an overnight shooting in Lexington. Police found 37-year-old Raymond McGee near Elm Tree Lane and East 6th Street. They say he had several gunshot wounds and he wasn't telling them much about what happened. WKYT's Sean Moody is tracking the investigation in our top story.
Police said the man was shot 3 times. We haven't heard an update on his condition this evening. This happened around 2:30 this morning. Witnesses reported hearing 3 shots near the corner of Elm Tree Lane and East 6th Street. When police got there, they say they found a 37-year-old man who'd been shot 3 times sitting on the front porch of a house. They took him to be treated and began looking for a shooter. Now, police didn't have much of a description of the shooter, except they believe he was wearing all black and headed south here on Elm Tree Lane after the shooting. Police are also trying to figure out what led up to the shooting. They say they don't know what triggered it. In Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Lexington police say they found narcotics on McGee. He is now charged with possession of a controlled substance.
Good evening, I'm Kylan Mills. Thanks so much for joining us on LEX 18 News at 11. Tonight, friends and family are mourning the loss of a 19-year-old Lexington man who was shot to death. He leaves behind a young son. LEX 18's Catherine Collins was at a vigil held for him. That's tonight's big story at 11.
Hugs, tears, but also laughter.
Everybody that's out here right now was like his family.
Friends and family gathered on Glen Place this evening to remember 19-year-old Devin Guest.
If you seen him, he was always smiling, goofing around. He was never like mad, sad, none of it.
Friends lit candles to honor Devin, but they also wanted to celebrate his life by playing his favorite song.
I hope you're dancing in the sky.
Police say Guest was found shot last night on Michigan Street. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead.
He had a whole life ahead of him. And I mean, somebody took it away from him.
Friends say Guest loved his baby and would give anything for his friends.
Like he would walk miles just to get here, make sure he was here to comfort me, anything.
We love you,
His loved ones are praying someone will be held responsible for his killing. Covering the news in Lexington, Catherine Collins, LEX 18 News.
And we are just learning new information arriving in our newsroom. Lexington police arrested a 17-year-old in connection with that shooting. Services will be held next Saturday at the Evergreen Missionary Baptist Church. The time has not yet been finalized.
Good evening to you. A string of shootings this week has left people in some Lexington neighborhoods worried about their safety. But tonight, Lexington police have charged a man for one of them. This afternoon, police charged 21-year-old Jermaine Anderson with murder and assault. He was already in custody. He's accused of shooting 2 people on Whitney Avenue Sunday night. Monique Blair is tracking the investigation tonight. It's our top story at 11.
God has put us down here for a purpose. And it wasn't to kill each other.
Becky Spillman shares a son with Ronnie Graves. Graves was shot and killed Sunday on Charles Avenue. A few hours before Graves was shot and just 1 street over, police were called to Whitney Avenue after 2 other people were shot. One of those victims, Freddie Spillman, was seriously hurt. The other, Montez Graves, died.
It's senseless killing, just breaking up families. It's just crazy.
After the shooting on Sunday here on Whitney Avenue, police arrested Jermaine Anderson after he was spotted fleeing from the area. He was originally charged with tampering with evidence, fleeing, and trafficking in cocaine. But on Wednesday evening, 2 more charges were added to Anderson's case: assault first degree and murder. And now, after 9 people were shot in 3 days, one local woman says enough is enough.
If somebody's starting something with you, don't walk away. Try something better than instead of killing people all the time.
Ida Warford started a Facebook group on Tuesday called Stop the Violence Lex. She says it's time to bring awareness to the problem before it's too late for another family.
I have kids myself, and I don't know what I would do if I would get a phone call and say that my kid's been shot. I don't know what I would do and how I'll be able to deal with it.
In Lexington, Monique Blair, WKYT.
We did speak with Freddie Graves' wife tonight, and she tells us he is awake and talking. No other arrests have been made in the shootings on Whitney or Charles Avenues. Good evening to you. A string of shootings this week has left people in some Lexington neighborhoods worried about their safety. But tonight, Lexington police have charged a man for one of them. This afternoon, police charged 21-year-old Jermaine Anderson with murder and assault. He was already in custody. He's accused of shooting two people on Whitney Avenue Sunday night. Monique Blair is tracking the investigation tonight. It's our top story at 11.
God has put us down here for a purpose, and it wasn't to kill each other.
Becky Spillman shares a son with Ronnie Graves. Graves was shot and killed Sunday on Charles Avenue. A few hours before Graves was shot and just one street over, police were called to Whitney Avenue after two other people were shot. One of those victims, Freddie Spillman, was seriously hurt. The other, Montez Graves, died.
It's senseless killing, just breaking up families. It's just crazy.
After the shooting on Sunday here on Whitney Avenue, police arrested Jermaine Anderson after he was spotted fleeing from the area. He was originally charged with tampering with evidence, fleeing, and trafficking in cocaine. But on Wednesday evening, two more charges were added to Anderson's case: assault first degree and murder. And now, after 9 people were shot in 3 days, one local woman says enough is enough.
If somebody's starting something with you, don't walk away. Try something better than instead of killing people all the time.
Ida Warford started a Facebook group on Tuesday called Stop the Violence Lex. She says it's time to bring awareness to the problem before it's too late for another family.
I have kids myself, and I don't know what I would do if I would get a phone call and say that my kid's been shot. I don't know what I would do and how I'll be able to deal with it.
In Lexington, Monique Blair, WKYT.
We did speak with Freddie Graves' wife tonight, and she tells us he is awake and talking. No other arrests have been made in the shootings on Whitney or Charles Avenues.
A wave of violence in Lexington. 4 shootings in less than 48 hours. That latest shooting happened this morning when police say gunfire erupted at a college party on Georgetown Road, injuring a Bluegrass Community and Technical College student, damaging 4 cars. But as WKYT's Jordan Valines tells us in our top story at 11, Lexington police are handing the investigation over to their homicide unit.
This past weekend alone, several people have had to be taken here to UK Hospital to be treated for gunshot wounds. And on Friday night, even one of the victims was listed in critical condition. The victim, who suffered critical injuries, was shot in the neck on Bainbridge Court around 8 Friday, when we're told an argument between 2 men led to shots being fired. A short time later, Lexington police responded to a liquor store on Charles Avenue, where they say a man had been shot in the back and a vehicle had been sprayed with bullets. Few hours after that, around 3 a.m. Saturday morning, police records show that 21-year-old Mandel Price was shot in the abdomen near Jazzy G's on Old Georgetown Street. The 4th shooting incident happened early Sunday morning. We're told hundreds of college students were partying at the Genesis Center on Georgetown Road when police say 2 gunmen opened fire, shooting about 15 times and hitting several nearby vehicles.
I am livid. I'm a single parent, and then let my daughter use my car to come out here and have a good time, and then this is what happens to innocent people.
Lexington police tell us that they've now handed these cases over to the robbery homicide unit. In Lexington, Jordan Valines, WKYT.
Investigators have not yet determined if those shootings are connected.
We're tracking the investigation into a double shooting. It started outside Camelot East on Richmond Road early this morning.
One person was rushed to the hospital and another showed up later with a gunshot wound. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy is tracking that investigation here in Lexington.
The police say that shooting happened in that parking lot, and officers believe there was a group out at that time. They're hoping someone in that group can tell them what happened, because they're still a little hazy on all the details. What we do know is that around 2:45 this morning, police came out here to the parking lot of the Camelot East Strip Club on Richmond Road for a call about a shooting. They found one man in the parking lot with a gunshot wound. They rushed him to UKER. They described his injury as very serious. They called it life-threatening. A second person, we're told, showed up at the emergency room, also with a gunshot wound. and police are calling that injury life-threatening as well. What detectives don't know yet is who the shooter was. Right now, detectives are reviewing any video that Camelot East or surrounding stores have, hoping that can help them out. In Lexington, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
And right now, police do not have a description of the shooter. They are also not saying if the two victims shot were firing as well.
Police in Lexington, Kentucky have arrested a man in connection with the fatal shooting of the daughter of Olympic sprinter Tyson Gay. 15-year-old Trinity Gay was shot about 4 a.m. in the parking lot of a restaurant. Like her father, the teen was also a track star at her high school. Police say she was caught in a crossfire and are looking for other suspects.
Serious story, tragic, dreadful story for you. The teenage daughter of U.S. sprinter Tyson Gay, he was in the Olympics, was killed in a shooting in Kentucky, hit in the neck during an exchange of fire between two vehicles in a restaurant parking lot. Sheriff David Clark is here. My first question, Sheriff, is where is Black Lives Matter in this? Where is the president in this? Who's saying anything about this disgraceful happening here?
Well, nothing. This doesn't fit their ugly narrative. That's what this is about. But look, this is a daily occurrence in the American ghetto all across America. This weekend in the city of Chicago, between Friday evening and Sunday night, there were 31 shootings, 7 dead. That's a weekly occurrence in Chicago now. In the city of Milwaukee, my hometown, 9 shootings, 2 dead. But again, it doesn't fit the ugly narrative of the cop-hating slime Black Lives Matter, and that's why you don't hear anything about it. Look, this is tragic in and of itself, but just because these people are attached to somebody famous, and, you know, my heart bleeds for that family of Tyson Gay, and then you look at Dwayne Wade, whose cousin was gunned down by 2 black criminals. It's the black-on-black crime. It's a bigger threat in the American ghetto than any police officer will ever be.
We have this from the director of the FBI, James Comey. He thinks that there are people who think that police shootings are a national epidemic because, Comey says, they have no idea what they're talking about because there's currently no federal data to indicate whether it's really the case. Here's the quote. They've got no idea of whether the number of black people being shot by police is up, down, or sideways. The truth is, police officers are overwhelmingly good people. Well, we got that. But, Sheriff, is that an accurate statement from James Comey that there's no statistics? That's why we don't know really what's going on?
That's a ridiculous statement by Director Comey. Look, he doesn't have any credibility anyway anymore after the way he handled that Hillary Clinton investigation. But look, for him to say that the reason why cops are under siege is because there's no federal data, that's laughable. This is an emotional argument. This is a political construct, this cop hating. There is plenty of data and plenty of research that goes against this false narrative painted about the American police officer, and it doesn't matter because when you throw logic up against an emotional argument, it's hard to fight. The propaganda, the myth about the behavior of law enforcement officers using force is what's ruling the day because the liberal mainstream media, not Fox News Channel, but the liberal mainstream media has shown sympathy for this ugly movement, and they have become the platform with which these myths and propaganda and lies are being told about the American police officer. It has nothing to do about the fact that there's no federal data. And if there's no federal data, shame on James Comey and the FBI for not having any.
Fair point. Sheriff David Clark, thanks for joining us early this Monday morning. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
3 men are facing nearly 24 charges each after a pair of February shootings in Lexington. Devontae Cobb, Jake Jones and John Harris are facing charges including wanton endangerment and criminal mischief. Court documents say Cobb and Jones fired shots into several homes on Hedgewood Court at 2 different times on February 28. The first shooting was just after midnight. Police say a home was shot 19 times. Documents say it was in retaliation for a teen not joining the group's street gang. The second shooting happened around 6:30 that night. Witnesses say they saw a group of people running down the street shooting. Nobody was hurt either time. In the second shooting, Multiple homes and vehicles were damaged. One bullet also hit a natural gas line, causing a gas leak which forced a building to be evacuated. Court documents show that during the course of the shootings, a total of 14 people were in danger of being shot. Harris' arrest citation says he used his grandfather's car to drive the accused shooters from the scene.